Okay, shall we get this show on the road? Here we
Sir.
go. Thank you so much for joining us for the monthly ramp up presented to you by Franchise Ramp. My name is Nick Hansen, creative director here, and I'm super excited for the latest edition of this webinar series that includes a mix of in the trenches knowledge and high level strategy, along with a featured interview with a franchisee. Today, we are super excited to have Sarah Tucker of Pure Barre Lubbock, and our awesome franchisee success manager, Rachel Smith, will conduct the interview. You will also receive marketing updates from Franchise Ramp President Peter Hansen and Vice President of Operations Aren Johnstone, along with a tactical tools discussion with Account Manager EJ Rivera. At the end of the session, there will be a brief Q&A. Thank you so much for attending today. The monthly Ramp Up's goal is to give you a coherent picture of what's happening at the intersection of marketing and franchising. We want this to be a tight-knit community for franchisees to share knowledge and gain insight. Our mission is to help franchisees realize their entrepreneurial dreams through targeted marketing strategies that maximize success for consumer-oriented franchises. Please come back and join us again. Now, I would like to introduce Franchise Ramp President Peter Hansen.
All right, thank you for the introduction, Nick. So welcome to all my fellow franchisees. It sounds like we have a lot of great brands with us today, like Row House, Club Pilates, Pure Barre, Crunch Fitness. There's a House of Kebab, so quite a diverse group of franchisees, so welcome. I live in, so my name is Peter Hansen. As Nick mentioned, I'm the president of Franchise Ramp, but I'm also a fellow franchisee. And so I own 3 Club Pilates in Arizona and 2 going on 3 Club Pilates in Ohio, and I'm looking to continue to expand as well within that brand. I live in the frozen tundra of Minneapolis, Minnesota, which it is a frozen tundra right now in December with my wife, 3-year-old daughter, and 1-year-old son. But my franchising career started as a franchisee with Liberty Tax almost 10 years ago. In the Minneapolis market. And so there I learned the importance of taking advantage of really the seasonal business cycles, if you will, and what I call event-based marketing. And so in the tax business, we would make 70% of our revenue for the year in 4 weeks of January and February, and we would make 98% of our revenue during the 3 months from mid-January to mid-April. So you really had to prepare for those times of year because you only had one shot to get it right. So we would spend copious amounts of time in September, October, November, December, early January getting ready. As we called them the tax business, it was planting the seeds, or it was planting season. And so I've taken the same mentality to my Club Pilates franchises after I exited Liberty last year. And so while the revenue is not as seasonal within the fitness industry, there's definitely an important seasonal aspect to fitness and wellness franchisees in January through February. The way I look at it is if I can be up 10 to 15% in revenue compared to other months, that's really just pure profit for me. So I want to take advantage of that seasonality and the psychographic of that modern fitness consumer in late December, January, February, March. I also, want to, on my trailing 12, as we know, COVID has impacted it, right? My revenue's been down in the trailing 12. And so having a great January, February, March will make up for, that little lackluster earlier in the year. And so in January, February, March, I'm expecting to see hopefully more than just 10 to 15%, depending on, how the year goes. So here's what I'm preparing to do for what I would call our sort of Super Bowl in my franchises in Club Pilates in January, February, March. We really want to capitalize on that modern fitness consumer and their psychographic and wanting to get fit in January, February, March. So I'm getting right now, what I'm currently doing this week is I'm getting my ad spend budgets updated for digital, any internal printing that we need done for our studios, any direct mail, any visibility, making sure that we have great quality visibility internally for our marketing to our customers, so we can get our customers to buy more, whether that's retail or private training or upgrade their memberships or referring friends, and externally as well. Do I have wind feathers up? Do I have nice signs on the front of my windows? I'm in very high traffic areas. The other thing is I'm getting my social posts scheduled from a marketing perspective, like making sure those are scheduled out and that we have the right messaging, the messaging we want going into the new year, which Aren will talk about in a little bit more detail. Also getting my emails ready to go. We're planning on sending anywhere from 15, 20 emails per studio during the month of January to really prime the pump and get people excited for that new year, new you mentality. And Aren will go into that in a little bit more detail right after me. But then the other thing is that I'm just ensuring I'm adequately staffed to contact leads within 5 minutes. 68 hours per week, that's the goal. We're not perfect, but that would include late on Saturday and all day Sunday. I'm a big believer that people like to talk to others on Saturdays. They've been home for 24 hours and they're looking for something else to do, and then they have a little bit more free time than they tend to do during the week. So we like to be staffed on Saturday and Sunday to make those lead calls. Training, so training the team, and then just really thinking through what obstacles I can remove from my team so they can focus solely on sales and member experience. I think at year end, there tends to be a lot of year end and beginning of the year as a franchisee or a business owner, there tends to be a lot of admin type stuff that can get in the way of our team. And so trying to remove that stuff so they can just focus as much as possible on the sales experience and the member experience. And then lastly, just annual planning sessions. So spending a little bit of time by myself in solitude so that, I can lead my team for the year ahead and help them set really impactful and strategic goals for themselves and for the organization. So the last parting thought, the success I've had in franchising is due to the trainings I've attended, but really more importantly, the number and quality of conversations I've had with very successful franchisees. And so I sort of look at success in franchise businesses and regardless of the industry or brand is really like a combination lock. So average franchisees tend to get 7 or 8 out of 10 digits on a combination lock, so 7 or 8 out of 10. But wildly successful franchisees, ones that are getting 10 times the difference in success, whether you measure that as profitability or enterprise value or time spent on their franchises, oftentimes they'll get 9 out of 10 digits. So they're only getting one additional idea, one additional combination to that lock, but they're getting 10x the return. And so really all you're looking for are those little things that can make a massive difference for you. And so, kudos to you for being on this call, but I really encourage you to take it a step further this week and have at least one conversation with a successful franchisee, either in your brand or another brand, and see what you can find. See if you can find that missing number, that missing combination lock of success. So best of luck to everyone as the year 2020 closes out and into the new year of 2021. And I'm always happy to chat and talk franchising. So happy new year and happy holidays.
Thank you so much, Peter. And please don't forget to message us in the chat. There's a Q&A function if you have any questions for anybody sharing today. And now, without further ado, we'd like to introduce Franchise Ramp Vice President of Operations, Aren Johnstone.
Thank you so much, Nick. And thank you, Peter, for that introduction. It really is true what Peter said, where New Year's is kind of the fitness Super Bowl. So for any of the fitness franchisees on the call, a lot of it's going to be very fitness focused. However, these different marketing tools and tactics and best practices are applicable to any industry that's going to be cyclical. So whatever the time of year where your Super Bowl is or your Black Friday, so to speak, you can leverage these key takeaways and simple tactics to really maximize your marketing return. Next slide, Nick. So to establish why it's your Super Bowl, I think it's really important to just go over some high level numbers to kind of frame the discussion on why the execution is going to be so important in January through March. So this is a pretty large study that's done by the IHRSA Association. And it is general to all gyms. So if you're in a boutique fitness concept, your numbers might look a little different. It could be either more member acquisition in January or more in February and March. But in general, 12% of all new gym memberships occur in the month of January. And for some of the tactics that we're going to discuss later, these resolution members are 80% of them that join in January quit within the first 5 months. So we're going to talk about how you can take that information and leverage it to make the most out of this new year. And of those people, so 4% of the resolutioners quit by the end of January, 14% quit by the end of February. So a lot of your churn is going to occur in that March, April, and May period. And then it's really important for this conversation to note that COVID-19 is still a reality. It is affecting certain markets more than others. And so this pie chart on the right is just a very basic representation. If that circle is all of your potential prospects who might become members in the month of January, February, and March, If that little sliver there, the light blue, is the people who are just not going to go because of COVID. And then that dark blue is the group of people who might, but need a little bit of extra effort to push them over the fence. You as franchisees are going to have to overcome that roadblock with really just expert execution on the fundamentals. Make sure you're, like Peter said, ticking all the boxes, finding that extra combination lock to increase your revenue and grow your business. Next slide, please, Nick. So Facebook actually calls the time period between December 26th and December 31st the fifth quarter. And they call it the fifth quarter because there's normally a very significant decrease in the cost to actually advertise. So the day after Christmas, a lot of brands, especially e-com and major brands, are no longer spending the same amount of money that they are on Facebook and Instagram and Google and other platforms. So just because of the decreased competition, the actual cost of an impression decreases. And this is great for fitness franchises or anyone who's really trying to leverage the new year, because you can start your advertising on the 26th, leverage that decrease in advertising costs, and you can start the awareness to ramp up into the new year. And so for most franchisees, a lot of their marketing is going to be lead generation focused. And you do have a sales cycle on those leads. So even if you get the lead, you call them and they book immediately, it still might take a few days for that person to actually show up. And so if you start your advertising, or at least your awareness, on the 1st of January, you're not going to be really able to see the benefit of that advertising until a few days into January, which is just losing really valuable time. And so different brands are starting different offers at different dates. So if your brand is starting promotions for January on the 1st, doesn't mean that you should start your offer advertising on the 26th, but at least start promoting the New Year's is coming, language around getting started for the New Year's, which we'll get into a little bit more specifically here in a second. Next slide, please, Nick. All right. And then a really common misnomer about New Year's resolutions is it's not just January. These resolutions really it's first quarter resolutions. And this is huge for franchisees, especially this year. The graph on the right is a giant study done by Bloomberg that shows the average gym adoption compared to fast food adoption, which is really interesting in comparison for the first 4 months of the year. And gym adoption, the member acquisition for the fitness space, does not actually decrease until April. In some businesses, it actually is more member acquisition in March than in January. So it's really important to remember that and continue your advertising push for New Year's resolutions through March, and just change the language, which I'll give you some examples and ideas of how you can change your messaging to extend your member acquisition for not just 1 month of the year, but 3 months of the year. And the numbers on the left are some general numbers. So it is very different depending on the concept, or can be slightly different. But so if 12% join in January, on average, 9 join in February and March. And then the other months of the year average about 7.7. And so it's really important that you leverage that Super Bowl, which is January through March. All right, Nick, next slide. And this is the timeline that here at Franchise Ramp, we're really dedicated in planning all of our advertising on the paid side for our clients. So the pre-New Year's period, that 5th quarter, it's important to start at least the awareness, like I said, during that time period. Some ideas and messaging, and this is just general messaging concepts, is start the New Year's off right, get a head start on your New Year's resolutions so that the sales cycle, they can actually begin on January 1st or right after January 1st. And then for the month of January, you can just do the very basic or traditional New Year's resolution language. So new year, new you, challenge yourself, take the first step, etc. That's really what most people are going to be focusing on. And then you can continue that into February and March with things such as stay committed to making 2021 your best year, join our community. You can push the community aspect and try to encourage them to stay members to reduce your churn rate and keep up your revenue. And then in March, there's a lot of people who might have tried other gyms or other concepts or businesses, whatever their New Year's resolution goals might have been, and then quit in that month of January or February. But they're ready to restart the resolutions, and you can leverage that and get them to join your business, and hopefully have a longer membership cycle there. So this is what our team is using. And if you can keep this in your head, this is just some basic messaging concepts that you can use the next few slides on the key takeaways for your email and organic posting. Nick, next slide. All right. So how to actually use that timeline and all of this information to generate more revenue. So the first huge takeaway, and this is going to be relatively similar to the conversation that or the presentation I did on Black Friday, but I think it's extremely important. And so for fitness, it is your Black Friday. It's the biggest time of year. It's very important and critical that you utilize your email list. Your email list is your biggest asset. You've paid, in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars to acquire email lists, spent money on promotions to get members in. And the more that you can segment and speak directly to different users wherever they are in their life cycle, the more return you're going to get out of that email list. So the first one that I recommend that every franchisee, if they can with their CRM, is focus on X customers. So if 80% of people who join in January quit within 5 months, those are your resolution people. We know that they like your product. We know that they were interested, that it's a focus of theirs to join gyms, get healthier. You can export somehow from your CRM, or if you can segment the members who joined in previous January through March periods, but are no longer customers, you can run a win back email to those people, and you should email them multiple times. The example on the right is just a basic win back email template. You're just speaking directly to them that we've missed you. We want to help you achieve your New Year's resolutions together. You can restart in 2021 and put 2020 behind you. And then you can promote whatever offer your brand is pushing to those people. Next example, Nick. Next example is current customers. So your current customers, especially in 2020, are the people who have self-selected as wanting to support you. They're your raving fans. They're the people who are willing to go out on a limb, push through COVID, and still be a part of your business. And if we know that they are your raving fans, and that 44% of all gym goers are exercising with at least one person, this is a huge time to maybe get your current customers, friends, or family who might be on the fence and are not as committed to fitness, but might want it to do so for a New Year's resolution, off the couch and into a studio. So segmenting your current customers list, speaking to them directly about either upselling, like Peter was talking about, or referring a friend, or helping a friend start their New Year's resolution off right, is a great way to get additional revenue and segment your current customer list. The third example, Nick, is for prospects. And this is going to represent the largest portion of emails for pretty much every franchisee. And these are the people who have somehow opted into your system, whether it's your microsite, paid advertising, or one of the other many ways that they can, walk-ins, call-ins, but they have not purchased a membership yet or not bought from you. And so these people, we want to email prospects a lot. It is okay if prospects unsubscribe. In fact, it's good if they unsubscribe for list health, and you're able to validate that they're not actually potential buyers. And so whenever Peter said he's going to send 15 to 20 emails in the month of January, potentially February and March, that is good. You should definitely front and load that email list right before the New Year's, a few days after the New Year's, and then keep up at least a couple emails a week through January, February, and March. You don't want to resend the same copy though in every email. And so a few ideas that you can utilize for your email copying and messaging are: start New Year's with a friend. We know that people want to join together. Might give them the extra encouragement. You can promote long-term membership options. So some people are going to want to start the new year with a bang and buy a 6-month membership or a year-long membership to really set themselves apart and commit hard to the New Year's resolution. And then some people just want to try it out and see if they can get back in the swing of things. And so those are going to be your low commitment introduction type offers, like free class or $10 class or whatever introduction offers your business has to offer. And then also, don't just push offers to prospects. Talk about herd mentality is still very, very successful in marketing. And so if you have New Year's classes, if you take pictures after classes, feature those people in your email. So if you have let's say a January 1st class, you can take a picture of everyone after your January 1st class and say, they're starting their New Year's off right. Let us help you start your New Year's off right, or join us for your resolution, and feature current members who are doing or succeeding in their resolutions. Next slide, Nick. So those are 3 email ideas. And because you're writing all this copy and you're following the kind of January, February, and March guideline for copy recommendations, you can take and leverage that email copy that you've already written and repurpose it for your organic posts. You do not need to write new content for your email and your organic posts on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever other social platforms you might be on. You can simply take the copy from your email in the same cadence. So if you send out an email, just take that same headline, the same copy, put it in an organic post on Facebook and Instagram and whatever social platforms you might be on, to make the most of that time and energy that you spent in writing that copy and producing those assets. And then support your staff with some sort of boosting strategy. Even if it's $5 a day for 3 days per post, or a day per post, or 5 days per post, give your team and enable them and support them with a specific budget per post. Facebook does not, for organic posting, does not show or deliver your posts to a very large percentage at all of the people who've liked and followed your page. And so it's important that you do boost those to make sure that they are aware, the people who've followed or selected, self-selected to be a part of your business, that they know that what you're offering. And good, easy recommendation on who to boost to is to page likes and friends of page likes. We want to make sure that everyone who has followed sees your ad, and then their friends are going to be very likely to be people who are going to be like those page likes, and also be interested in the products that you have to offer or services that you have to offer. Next slide, Nick. So key takeaways are to start your promotion or awareness on the 26th. Get a head start and ramp up into the new year. Then push your New Year's resolutions through March. It is first quarter resolutions, not January resolutions. Utilize your email list because it is really your biggest asset, and you've invested in that email list. And segment your email list by prospects, customers, and ex-customers, and especially those who joined last January through March or previous years. And then don't forget to organic posting and boosting, and you can repurpose your email content for that organic posting. That is all for my part. And please do feel free to reach out as well. I'll include the contact information and the email follow-up we send to everyone. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Aren. That was chock full of amazing information. Don't forget, if you have any additional questions for Aren, to send us a question in the Q&A. And next up, we have our account manager, EJ Rivera. Take it away, EJ.
Well, thank you, Nick. And Aren, appreciate the insight. I'll be touching on some points that also complement that too, which we'll cover. So today we're going to focus on the speed to lead aspects and why does your lead response time matter. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So speed to lead is one of the leading factors of having your prospects move through your sales funnel, followed by the number of touches which you have on them. So you want to have at least minimum 6 touches on a prospect before moving on to bigger, better things, quote unquote. The more the merrier with it. A touch point can be considered anything from a phone call to a text to an email. But genuinely, it's a full forth effort to get in contact and help prospects with your service. We'll go to the next slide. And the truth about it is the reason your prospects are going to convert or go through to that next step in your sales funnel, whether if that's purchasing, whether if that's starting up long-term membership, short-term membership, is 40% of the reason is going to be the quote unquote quality of the lead, and 60% is going to be the end user process. So that's your speed to lead time. That's your sales process, your gift of gab, so to speak, that you and your sales staff have. We'll go to the next slide here. And we'll look at what did the top performers focus on. So again, speed to lead within the first 5 minutes. We'll touch on that and I'll give you guys some numbers here in a second on it. And then also the 40-60 rule of conversion. So again, back-end processes. And you'll find that this speed to lead is really going to help out with that 60% portion of that rule. We'll go to the next slide here. So before we dive into the numbers behind this 5-minute follow-up, ask yourself, how significant would it be if you are 100 times more likely to get in contact the first time that you reach out to a lead as they come in? And then also too, how much more effective is your sales staff or your conversions and your likelihood of selling and qualification going to be if you can increase it by 21 times? So also on top of that, asking yourself how many other businesses or competitors understand this concept, which we'll go over. And that can be not just fitness, it can be, a sandwich shop, a mom and pop shop. Because again, keep in mind, your competition isn't just your neighbor that has the same similar concept. It's also the, oil change stations that are your competitors, everyone else who's running ads in your targeted area. So we'll go to the next slide here. And so the odds of contacting a lead are going to decrease by over 100 times in the first 5 minutes versus if you wait 30 minutes. Now, if you're able to contact them sooner than 5 minutes in a perfect world, within the first minute, you're going to have an exponentially even greater likelihood of contacting a lead as they come through. So when you have leads signing up, even if a notification is, say, instant, you may have prospects signing up either at work when they shouldn't be on their phone, or they might be at a red light and maybe they can't answer the phone right then and there. So the likelihood of reaching out to them within those first 5 minutes is exponentially going to increase as compared to, as you can see here, if you wait 10 minutes at that, it's going to drastically decrease. And then over 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes, it decreases. Same thing with qualifying a lead. So if you're able to contact a lead to qualify them within the first 5 minutes versus 30 minutes, that likelihood is going to drop 21 times if you wait a 30-minute grace period versus 5. So again, the sooner the better with it, but the rule of 5 or the 5-minute follow-up is definitely something to pay attention to. So we'll go to the next slide here. And then things to remember before calling. Again, the leads as they come through, they're owned assets. So you've officially paid for them, and you want to make sure that they're getting the attention that they want as soon as possible. Similar to Aren said, with email marketing, their own assets. So you paid for them at that point, just like you wouldn't want your food to go cold. You don't want your leads to go cold either. A great example is if you go to a friend's shoe store and you're looking for a shoe in your size, doesn't matter if it's your best friend or a family member, you're not going to stand there and wait an hour till someone helps you out. You're going to go next door and get your shoe size. So that same concept goes with your leads. They have many options, and they've showed an interest in yours, so the sooner the better. Also too, again, it's the time where their interest is at the absolute highest peak within that first 5 minutes. And first impressions are everything with this. So great customer service as soon as they show the interest, letting them know they feel welcomed, and just setting that expectation for a long-term relationship, whether if it's a prospect or someone who's going to become a client with that. And we'll go to the next slide here. And so just some takeaways. Again, the 60% of the reason, again, is because of end user processes and sales systems. And then the 6-point touches is the absolute minimum that you want to hit per prospect. Something super important with this, definitely collaborate with your franchisor, because they have proven systems in place for your success for those following 6 touches and onwards. So you definitely want to partner with them. And this is going to be a little homework or action items for you as well, is find out what your average speed to lead time is with your sales team. Collaborate with your franchisor. Again, compare and contrast the numbers where you're at, where you should be, and then how you can get to the top percentile in your franchisor's kind of gameplay, right? And then also too, they, again, have incredibly tested systems. So definitely make sure you take advantage of those and kind of go with those guidelines. So rule of 5. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much, EJ. Super enlightening information. Please message us in the chat if you have any more questions. And now I would like to introduce Rachel Smith, our Franchisee Success Manager.
Thanks, Nick. So this afternoon, we are going to be chatting with Sarah Tucker. She is based in Texas and the owner of Pure Barre Lubbock. She has been with Franchise Ramp since March, and this year at the Exponential Conference, she was the recipient of the Franchisee of the Year Award for Pure Barre, as well as the Rockin' It Award given to the studio with the most members. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome to the Ramp Up.
Thanks.
So could you tell me just a little bit about how you got into franchising and how long you've been a franchisee?
I purchased this studio it'll be 4 years in February. I started out when Pure Barre Lubbock opened. I started out as a member, started as a member for a year, taught for a few years, and then when the opportunity became available, purchased it in 2017.
Awesome. That's super fun. What results have you achieved recently, and what can you think are the best contributors to those success?
Since purchasing the studio, we've grown the revenue or tripled the revenue. And I would attribute that to just a strong sales process and a great team who can follow through with that sales process. So having people available to, as kind of everyone was talking about, respond within 5 minutes, follow up, meet touch points. I think it's not impossible, but really more possible with a strong team.
Is there anything unique that you do that you don't know if others do as far as your sales process?
I don't think unique. I think something I focus on a whole lot is just making sure people are aware of the community that we foster, and that if they're going to invest in the studio, in our workout, that I'm willing to invest in them with my time, energy, attention. So I would say that's something I just focus on a whole lot.
Awesome. That's great. So as a high-performing franchisee, you have to take risks to get to where you are in your business. Is there a specific risk or multiple risks that you've done that has helped you reach success or the next level of success?
I think, and this is kind of a hard topic, especially right now with everything that's going on, and it kind of piggybacks on the last thing, and investing in the people that invest in you. And I think just any way that you can invest in the people that are around you, especially your team, and then the community, just anything that you can do to show that you are giving to them so that they're willing to give to you and continue to support you. And that just kind of feeds on itself within your members and then to prospects and leads. That becomes just something that others are aware of.
So how are you fostering a sense of community with COVID and the restrictions that you have in place?
I just constant communication to not only our leads, but members, just checking in, paying attention to how they're doing. Are they working out, coming into the studio? Also just this is something so simple and silly, just like gifting them with a little note, just reminding them you're thankful for their support.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just little things, nothing mind-blowing or groundbreaking.
No, it's good to reach out and interact with them personally, for sure. Do you have any advice that you would give to a new franchisee starting out?
Just from the first thing I said, just searching for and hiring a team that you feel confident in, especially a team that feels like a family to you. And I think when you have a great team and you all have the same goal, it's much more successful and exciting for everyone. So that would be my advice. Just hit the ground running and surround yourself with people you're confident in.
Was that something that was challenging to accomplish? Did it take more than one time?
Yes. The first year or 2 years, I did a lot on my own until I found people that were up to par, and just I have and just in the last year, the greatest general manager you can have. So yes, it's not something that just comes and you have to fill in those roles until it's there. But with that being said, there's a lot without having that team. So then when you do have your team, you could support them.
Absolutely. So is there a particular experience that you can draw from that has helped you make crucial decisions in the last few weeks or since COVID's hit?
Gosh, not a specific situation, just countless ones kind of pivoting since COVID with closures, opening. Definitely, I know every franchise partner feels this way. All your worst nightmares have come to pass, but not any specific. I think just in general, the last however many months, almost a year, has just been one big situation that we've learned from and grown from and continue to do so.
Absolutely. Well, those were all the questions that I immediately had. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah.
Thanks, Rachel.
Back to you, Nick.
Okay, thank you so much. That was awesome. And please message us in the chat if you have any questions for Sarah or Rachel. And we're going to dig in here and take a look. I know we have at least a few in the Q&A. Okay, so I believe this one might be for Aren. Do you recommend increasing ad spend in January? And if so, how much?
So not sure how much it looks like it's an anonymous attendee. Yeah, I would recommend increasing your ad spend in January. First of all, the cost to advertise is going to be significantly lower than in December and in November. It's hard for me to say exactly how much. It's really dependent on market size and how long you've been advertising, saturation points, et cetera. But I would recommend getting with whoever manages your marketing, whether it's someone here at Franchise Ramp, one of our success managers, or anyone that you might work with, and discussing how to maximize how to increase spend without having a diminishing return, because you can spend so much that it just becomes not valuable. But yes, I would definitely recommend trying to maximize your spend in January to leverage the increased user and consumer behavior.
Awesome. And I think we have one from Tim for Peter. Peter, what about the leads that come through in the middle of the night? Example, 11 p.m. or 1 a.m.
You're muted.
Oh, I was going to say call them, but no, I'm just kidding. I mean, obviously people don't expect a call at that time, but I think the first thing in the morning, is good. 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 8:30, 9. I even think calling at night until 7 or 8, definitely at least 7, possibly even 8. I know every market might be a little bit different culturally, but I would say those are the times that you can definitely call. And if it's after those hours, having a plan in place to get to them first thing in the morning shows the professionalism and how you really value them as a prospect and want to help them as a potential customer and member. I would also say on Saturdays, I mentioned in the beginning, having Saturday coverage until 5 p.m., 6 p.m. can be really helpful. A lot of places aren't open at that time, and people are more able to talk because they're not as busy with the whirlwind that happens to them during the weekday. I give from a staffing consideration that might not be value add, or might not be possible. I do have at my studios, that's the expectation for the studio manager or one of their designates, is that we have coverage on that Saturday afternoon. And then, Sundays as well, not as late and not as early, but some coverage on Sunday as well.
So we have a follow-up from Eric asking, assuming you do not have the ability to call within the next 5 minutes after a lead, what is generally the best time to call?
6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. I think it's all dependent on, sort of your market and testing that out. I know we've seen, 4 to 7 p.m. tend to work best, sometimes over the lunch hour. I think it sort of depends on the seasonality and the cycle. And so I think the most important thing is changing it up and having a hypothesis, testing it. If it works, great, continue that. And if it stops working, try something new, and just constantly be testing and trying different times.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. We have one from Guy with Decalash in Calgary asking, if I'm in a new brand in a new market but have current restrictions with COVID, till January 6th to take on clients? Should I still look at the 5th quarter to start a campaign?
That's a great question. So I think a lot of franchisees across the country are going to have various restrictions at different times. And so, Guy, my recommendation would be to leverage the assets and free ways of marketing to get that message out there. So you can still post to your Facebook and Instagram pages and promote the new year. You can say that you're opening January 6th and it's coming soon. You can build that awareness and kind of prime the pump, or like Peter said, plant the seeds. You can email your email list on the 26th and say something about, hope you had a great Christmas. We're so excited to see you January 6th. We're opening soon. You can email them again right before New Year's and say opening soon, January 6th. And so you can build and ramp up awareness into that January 6th opening. But I would definitely try to leverage the time period after Christmas where people stop thinking as much about family and more thinking about what they're going to accomplish in the next year. Because if you're not, other brands will be.
Awesome. Thank you, Aren. And we had one come in from David in the chat for Aren. What trends do you see with actual email openings on days and hours?
There's thousands of different research studies on email opening best time and days. I would say it's going to be somewhat market dependent. Different people are going to open email at different times. So as you're going into January, I would try to do like a basic morning afternoon schedule. So if you're going to send 2 emails in the first few days leading up to January, or the first few days of January, send one at 9:30 or 8:30 in the morning, send one at lunch, and one at so go morning, lunch, then the next day go lunch, afternoon, and just I would split it between the basic slots of morning, lunch, and evening, like 5 to 7, and do it at different times on different days, because different people are going to be checking their emails at different times. And so if you keep your email volume high, you'll have the greatest chance of getting in front of the largest potential audience segment.
Awesome. Thank you, Aren. Well, I think that is all the questions that we have. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We already can't wait to see you on next month's ramp up, and we look forward to working with you to help you achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. See you next time, everybody.